Sleeping in castles,
walking cobblestone streets,
rooftop restaurants,
hidden bars and speakeasies,
swimming in new seas,
exploring ancient ruins,
destination concerts,
cooking classes,
coffee in cafes,
gelato twice a day,
geocaching,
photography,
birding,
kayaking,
hiking,
biking,
me,
and her.
travel.
We're gonna be two hearts running wild.
So these are just some of the fun things that we like to do while traveling and things that we look for while we're traveling.
We invite you to click follow and come along with us as we figure out how to make a living as we meander the world as quasi-digital nomads.
So our intent with this podcast is that we will update you on our progress with that goal. But then along the way, we're also going to share with you some adventures and misadventures from our travels. And as hardcore planners and researchers, that's what we like to think of ourselves as, we'll share with you some tips and tricks that you might not have heard before.
So how did we get here? Who are we? And why are we doing a podcast? I'm Tony and my wife Julie. We live in Minnesota, United States, and we are Me and Her Travel.
Or Meandher travel.
Yes, the little play on words for you. At this point, it's July of 2024, and we are both still working. We have a house in the suburbs, 2 kids, 19 and 21, 2 lovely daughters, and they still live at home. And we have a senior dog that is 12 years old.
We have rebound children. They were gone for a little bit, but then they came back. Maybe some other people can relate to that situation.
Yes, empty nesting for 3 months was wonderful.
Yeah.
And we love our kids, but it was wonderful.
We thought it was going to be sad at first, and it was for about a week. And then it was really, really lovely. And then they both ended up back at home.
Which
And
happens
that's
to a lot.
lovely too.
Yeah, and that happens to a lot of people and a lot of kids. And we're fine with that. We want to help them out and give them a good place to come home to if they need to.
But we really would like to travel more, and we thought it was going to be a little bit easier to fit more trips in and be gone for longer periods of time. But we've got all of these large issues to deal with: the house, the kids, the dog. How do we do this?
It's the dog. My wife's true love and passion is, I think it goes dog, maybe daughters, then husband. I'm not sure about the order, but the dog is definitely number one.
It depends on the day.
But it's always dog number one. So Dilly, we call her Pickles. That's number one. So we work everything around that schedule.
She is a bit of a piece of work. She has separation anxiety. She's highly active. Despite being almost 12 years old, she acts like a 2-year-old.
So we yearn to travel more. We want to live abroad in some capacity at some time. I don't know when that's going to be because we have obstacles in front of us.
Yeah, and maybe the first year that we jump off doing this type of thing might be we take shorter trips because we just can't be gone from home that long. So maybe we take more trips that are in shorter duration, and maybe we do a sampling from around the world so we kind of figure out where we want to go in destinations for longer periods of time.
Because in the first part, we talked about being quasi-digital nomads. Let's explain that a little bit. Some of you may know what a digital nomad is. That is a person that makes a living still. They're still doing a job, but they're doing it digitally on the internet with their remote computer. Maybe they have a remote job, but they're living abroad, and they do not have a home per se. They are nomads. They travel the world. Sounds lovely, and we fell in love with this concept, but we're not there yet. We don't really know how we can get to there yet. It's a process, and you hear about people talking about it in podcasts. Hey, I'm a digital nomad for 8 years, and this is what you have to do, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. Well, that's great, lovely. Sounds easy because they're into it and they're successful, but we're at the beginning stages, and we do not know exactly how to get there, and it's difficult emotionally, time-wise, financially. There's a lot of stuff that goes into getting to that, and it's not as easy as just saying, sell your house and move abroad. It's not that easy. There's a lot to consider.
We're just not ready to quite go that far down the road, but we do figure that at this point in our life, we are in this sweet spot, which maybe you guys can relate to, because it's that time where our kids are old enough that they are self-reliant. They do not need us that much, but our parents, they're aging, and I know at some point in the near future, they're going to need us to probably help out a little bit more. Even at this point, I'm doing my mom's laundry every week. I mean, there are certain things that I'm already doing to help out. So I feel like if we don't take advantage of this time that we have right now, this may be 5 to 8 years before our kids are getting married and having babies and our parents are a little bit older, we're going to miss our opportunity and we're going to be too old, too tired, whatever. We have to jump off now. It's the sweet spot. We need to be traveling right now.
And traditionally, people work until they're 65 to 75, and then they retire and they go do the wonderful things that they want to do. They want to travel and take cruises and see the world. But at 65 to 70, I'm in my early 50s, and I already see myself like I am not 30 anymore. I do not rebound.
You
the
still
same
think
way.
you are?
I am. Mentally, yes, I am. And actually, mentally, I'm more like 18. Physically, I feel 30, but my body is and my mind is actually 50. But I know that if I wait till 65, Julie and I are going to get there and go, ooh, I want to jump off cliffs. I want to into the ocean.
I don't want to jump off
skydive, and that's going to be a little bit more difficult. She doesn't want to. She did skydive with me one time.
I did skydive. I didn't really want to do that either, but I didn't want to wuss out.
That's right. Conquer your fears. Be a warrior. And I want to do those things while I can enjoy them and do them physically and not feel like, oh, I'm going to break a hip jumping off this cliff. So we want to do this now. And to do that, we're going to take a unique path and say, we're going to postpone that 65 to 70 retirement. We're going to find a way to get mobile now, do the things we want to do for the next 5 to 7 years, maybe longer, depends on our kids and our parents and our situation, and do all those activities while we're still in our prime that we feel is our prime. And then when we get to that age, then we slow down maybe and we're back home and we're doing stuff with our kids and grandkids and our parents. But a little bit reverse. And that's a difficult thing to try and figure out, especially when these are our prime earning years and, we have all kinds of other things that we have to be thinking of.
True. We definitely feel like because we're at this point where we're still physically active, we need to take advantage of it. Like just this past week, both of us stubbed our toes, thought
that sounds
we broke them.
So pathetic, but we stubbed our toes and got nervous because we have an upcoming trip in this next week. And
we're leaving for France this week, and this may be on a future podcast at some point, but how are we going to walk all around Europe with
20 to 30,000 steps a day with broken toes, both of us? The odds, we both have like black and blue marks on our toes, and we're like, are you serious? We're in our early 50s, and we stub our toes, and that's going to be the downfall of our trip. That's
I know, so funny.
We need to do things now, not when we're...
Well, so part of what we've done to get to where we are today is we have listened to so many podcasts. We are trying to learn from other people who've done this before us. We're still in the very baby stages. We're trying to figure out what to do. But we have started that process of learning from other people. And I will say, I have a little story to tell. So I know it's probably started about 7 years ago, and I remember super clearly. We were sitting on the front porch of our house, and we have 2 little chairs there where we can just watch the world go by. And I told my husband, I said, honey, I'm very worried about you. I feel like you are under an enormous amount of stress. You are not the same person that you were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I feel like you are frustrated all the time. You are super unhappy with your life. You come home from work, and some days you just kind of put your hand up and say, I can't talk to you right now. I need to go be by myself. I didn't even ask him anymore, how was your day? Because I already knew.
You didn't want the answer.
I already knew how your day was. I could see it on your face, your demeanor. You were impatient with the kids, with me.
Quick to temper.
Yeah, and just, it was like the weight of the world was on your shoulders.
Yep.
You were
vulnerable moment. It was the beginning of all of this thought of being happier and doing something different with our lives. And Julie, you've been listening to a lot of podcasts prior to me listening to, and you had some ideas like, wow, this sounds lovely, because we love to travel. And you've been listening to probably hundreds at that time. There was one in particular, Expat Chat, a really great podcast for people that leave United States or leave their country, because it was actually done by an Australian person, and that they travel the world for the rest of their time. And we love to travel, so we thought, geez, like, Tony, you need to listen to this. You need to listen to this.
So that day, I had actually I told you, I said, I just sent you a bunch of podcasts. I texted them to you. All you have to do is click on them to listen to them. I really want you to listen to these, and I want you to consider a different lifestyle. Like we have a decent sized house. We have cars. We've got a mortgage. We've got kids. We have so many expenses, but it doesn't have to be that way. We can scale down. We can live differently. We are not the people that have to have, the name brand vehicles and all. We're willing to live more humbly so that we can travel.
Gladly.
And I said, we need your job right now, but we don't have to have this job. We can live differently. And I want you to listen to these podcasts, and I want to change our life because you're not happy and I'm not happy. And we need to get back to having some fun and realizing what life is all about.
So that is exactly what happened. I think I listened to about 7 or 8 podcasts in one day. And I basically told my wife that day or that next night, like, yeah, well, I'm quitting my job sometime and we're going to move and we're going to go travel the world. And she's like, I just kind of wanted you to listen to these and think about things. But I was all in immediately. Yes, this is a destination path forward for us. I think it's right up our alley. But there's a lot, and I mean a lot, that has to go into getting to that point.
And then COVID hit.
And
that really kind of smacked us all on the side of the head. But you do realize, again, what's important. And it's your family, and it's the experiences that you get to have. And it solidified for us, absolutely, we are going to put these wheels in motion and figure out how this can be done.
And not to be morbid, but COVID, with all that came with it, and turning 50, people that we know, are no longer around, and we realized, I could be gone tomorrow. I could get sick or something. I'm like, why are we waiting to live the rest of our lives when we can live it now? Why wait 10 years from now?
So the conundrum, obviously, is we're not financially ready to retire. Most people aren't ready to retire at 50 years old, and we still have kids that are in college and have expenses. So we're not ready to do that. So we've got to figure out how we can still make money while traveling abroad. And then we've been going back and forth arguing about, what do we do with our house? Do we sell our house? Do we rent out our house?
What about insurance?
Do we just keep our house? Yeah, there are a million things to consider. And we haven't got all those answers yet, but...
Well, that's part of this podcast. As we were sitting at these times thinking about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, we thought, well, we should be sharing our journey with other people, because there's a ton of podcasts of people that have gotten to that digital nomad place in their life and are telling you how to do it from a hindsight 2020 perspective. What there isn't, that I know of, is anybody going through the process in the moment, explaining what they're feeling, what they're seeing, what they're having to deal with, learning. Like, we're newbies. This is our first podcast. We're trying to explain to you what we're going to do. We don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't know how.
Maybe we can hold each other's hands. Maybe people will have ideas.
Here, let's do it right now. Okay, I'm holding her hand. So we are going to go through this with you. We're going to bring you along the journey of, oh, wow, how do we make money? How do we change savings accounts? And how do you access those abroad? How do you work? How do you get money paid to you when you're abroad? Health insurance
we're looking
is the
into
big scary one,
annual
right?
health insurance. That's a whole new topic.
Or when you're abroad, insurance is probably not needed because a lot of the medical is so cheap and inexpensive, and it's actually free, even for travelers. So there's a lot of ways to look at it, and you got to do a lot of research, which we love to do. We are research, and we dig into it.
We call ourselves professional planners. Sometimes I think we enjoy the planning of a trip almost more than the taking of a trip.
Correct.
But we're definitely deep dive researchers, and we really enjoy that process, and we have learned so much along the way. Those are also some things that we're going to share with listeners.
Yeah, we're going to talk about our trips that we've taken that got us to here, why we're here, because we wouldn't have never come to this conclusion of being professional travelers or lifelong travelers from here going forward without the love of travel that we've had our whole lives, raising our kids as travelers, and then all of a sudden listening to podcasts and hearing stories of other people. Why don't we do this? So as we do this, we're going to bring you along that journey. We're going to tell you about old stories of old trips that we've been on, plus current ones. We have a lot planned right now on the books, and we're going to bring you along with us on those. Give tips, because we've got a lot of good travel tips that we feel are different than what people have put out there, both on the research end and on the actual while you're on your trips. It goes for domestic or international travel. Then we're also going to talk about, give you updates of what we're doing and how we're doing it to become where we're at and to become nomads. per se.
Whatever capacity that is.
Yeah, whatever capacity. Because we really don't agree. Julie and I don't necessarily agree on where we're going to be 5 years from now and how it's going to look. I would like to say, sell the house, move today, and we're gone forever.
And I'm more security minded, and that's actually super scary to me. And as much as I love to travel, I also really want to have some roots somewhere. And I want to know that I can come home if I want to at some point and have a place to put our stuff. And what do we do with all of our stuff? I don't know. Lots of things to cover. But in our next episode,
we are going to talk about how the very first thought of why are we of value to anybody else listening to us about what we're going to talk about. And it was on a trip to Italy. It was a little while ago, but we learned that we travel differently. We wanted to travel differently, and we thought, God, this is a great way to do it, and we should tell other people it because it'll help them have a more enjoyable trip, fun things, and it also solidified for us that this is something we could share.
So on that trip, we learned all about experiential travel, and we'll share more with you about that next time.